Hello, and welcome to Mastering the Art of Learning Yourself, the podcast where we explore how you can unlock your full learning potential. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into one of the most empowering skills you can develop, learning how to learn.
Hey everyone, I'm Archer. And yeah, this topic is super important because once you figure out how to learn effectively on your own, you can tackle pretty much anything, whether it's learning a new language, coding, or mastering a hobby.
Exactly. Today we'll break down how you can become your own best teacher, from understanding how your brain works to practical tips for self-directed learning. So let's start with the basics. When we talk about learning how to learn, what do we actually mean?
Great question. It's all about understanding how we process, retain, and apply information. It's a skill in itself, metacognition, or thinking about your own thinking. When you learn how to learn, you're essentially figuring out the best way to teach yourself anything.
Right. It's like taking control of the process. Most of us were taught to follow instructions, but learning how to learn means being intentional and aware of what methods work best for you.
Exactly. And the cool part is, once you develop that skill, you can apply it to any subject or skill set. Whether it's something technical, creative, or even physical skills like sports.
It's like a superpower. So what's the first step in learning how to learn effectively?
The first step is understanding how you learn best. Some people think they're bad learners, but it's often because they haven't found the right approach. We all have unique learning preferences, and it's about experimenting to see what clicks.
Totally. And that leads into the concept of self-directed learning, right?
Yes, self-directed learning means taking control of your learning journey. Instead of waiting for someone to teach you, you become the driver of your own education. It's proactive, not passive.
I love that. So rather than waiting for the perfect course or teacher, you go out and explore, find resources, and structure your own path.
Okay, so how do we actually get better at learning on our own? What are some practical strategies?
One key strategy is setting clear goals. You have to know why you're learning something and break it down into specific, achievable steps. Vague goals, like I want to learn Spanish, can feel overwhelming. But if you say, I want to be able to order food in Spanish in 2 weeks, that's clear and actionable.
Totally. And another important thing is active learning. When you're learning by yourself, it's tempting to just consume information, like reading a book or watching videos, but you need to engage with the material. Practice, take notes, quiz yourself.
Right, it's about applying what you learn. You could watch hundreds of hours of tutorials, but if you don't practice, it won't stick. For example, if you're learning coding, you should be writing code as you go, not just watching someone else do it.
Exactly. And let's talk about reflection. This is a big one. After each learning session, take some time to reflect on what worked, what didn't, and how you can improve next time. It helps you adjust your learning methods.
Yes, reflection is part of that metacognitive process we mentioned earlier. It's like doing a mental check-in to see if what you're doing is effective. Sometimes we stick to methods that aren't working because we haven't paused to think about it.
That's such a good point. And I think one of the biggest traps people fall into is not being flexible with their learning strategies. Just because something worked for one subject doesn't mean it'll work for everything.
True, flexibility is key. You might need to use visual aids for one subject, while hands-on practice works best for another. It's all about trying different approaches and adapting.
Let's talk about motivation, because that's a huge factor in self-directed learning. How do we stay motivated when we're learning on our own?
I think curiosity is a big driver. When you're genuinely curious about a subject, learning becomes exciting instead of a chore. It's like following a trail of breadcrumbs. Each new thing you learn makes you want to learn more.
Definitely. And to stay motivated, it's important to remind yourself why you're learning in the first place. Keep the end goal in mind, whether it's mastering a new skill for work, a personal project, or even just for fun.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that. One trick I use is to visualize what it'll feel like when I've achieved my learning goal. It keeps me excited, especially during the tough parts.
Exactly. And small rewards along the way help too. You can reward yourself after hitting mini milestones to keep the momentum going.
Exactly, and small rewards along the way help too. You can reward yourself after hitting mini milestones to keep the momentum going.
Yes, learning doesn't have to be lonely. Communities are great for exchanging ideas, asking questions, and getting that extra push when you're feeling stuck. All right, let's wrap things up with some tools and resources that can help people get started with self-directed learning. What do you recommend?
There are so many great tools out there. For organization, I like apps like Notion or Trello to track what I'm learning, set goals, and keep notes all in one place.
Notion is awesome. And for active learning, platforms like Anki are great for spaced repetition. You can create flashcards, and the app will remind you to review them at the optimal time.
For self-paced courses, platforms like Coursera, Udemy, or even YouTube can be gold mines for learning new skills. And the best part is, a lot of content is free.
Definitely. And if you're learning a language, Duolingo or Memrise are great apps that turn language learning into bite-sized fun sessions.
I also want to mention the importance of reading. Books are a fantastic resource, and they allow you to dive deep into a subject. Sometimes, slow and steady learning through reading is the best way to build long-term understanding.
Absolutely. Podcasts and audiobooks are also a great way to learn on the go, especially if you're trying to make the most of your commute or downtime.
Alright, that's all for today's episode on learning how to learn. Hopefully you're leaving with some fresh ideas on how to improve your self-directed learning.
Remember, learning is a skill you can develop, just like any other. It takes practice, reflection, and a bit of flexibility, but once you master it, you can tackle anything.
Until next time, happy learning!